Welcome back everyone, Monica here with the monthly reading for June 2026. Now just a very quick update before I get into my reading to say that I've been away for a number of reasons, but mostly because the months of April and May here where I live in the Whitsundays on the east coast of Australia is our gardening season, which is when the weather cools down enough for us to be able to do quite an epic, at least in my case, an epic gardening session. So I think in the future I'm just going to take the months of April and May off for the most part. But anyway, I'm now back and I thought I'd start up again by doing the monthly reading for June. I'm using the Golden Tarot for this. I wanted something quite solid and grounding, and I always find this deck to really tick those boxes, while at the same time being incredibly pragmatic as a reading deck for me. It is a mainstream market deck, so it's US game systems. You can still get this if you have never seen this before, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about. It's a really wonderful deck. So I'm going to keep in line with all of my previous monthly readings and do my standard 4-card spread. The first 3 cards are the incoming energy for June, so what's coming into our lives in June, and then the 4th and final card is our focus card, what we got to keep our focus on regardless of what might be coming in. Let's get started. Just realized I don't have my microphone on. Let me see if I can actually, sort this out very quickly. Okay, apologies for that. Clearly being away for so long, I've almost forgotten how to do this. Rightio. So first 3 cards is the incoming energy for June. We've got the Queen of Wands, nice and strong, fiery, energetic, taking action. I like her, of course, being my archetype. The 4 of Coins, stability. So this is the incoming energy, and it's kind of like taking action to provide stability and security. It's also taking action to being successful in business. All right. For me, the 4 of Coins is not so much the Miser's card. I've said this before. Very often the 4 of Coins is referred to as the miser card in tarot. Someone, holding on too tightly to what they have. However, when it comes to business and questions pertaining business or career, the 4 of Coins to me has always been a very positive card of success, because you're manifesting money. Because 4 is the number of boundaries and foundation, and coins being the earth element provides a very solid foundation, very, very grounded. So this is a really nice combination together. And then finally, the 8 of Coins. Wow. So it seems to me that June is very much focused on our own autonomy, our own independence and leadership and our own drive, our own willpower, our own, what am I thinking of? Outwardly directed energy, being out there in the world. The Queen of Wands isn't an introvert. And if you are naturally an introvert, then the Queen of Wands is the incoming energy for June, is saying, time to step up and step out a little bit. All right, time to shine. Nothing wrong with that. So that is what is coming in. We've got the Queen of Wands, we've got the Four of Coins, grounding, pragmatism, success, financial and business success in particular. And then the Eight of Coins is the card of work, of the worker, of the apprentice, of someone learning something new or applying their craft, getting good at their craft. Whether that's a career, whether that's, it's relevant which area you're in, whether you are like a university professor or whether you are a market gardener, whether you are a childcare educator, the area of life doesn't really matter. What we're talking is about your vocational path, and the Eight of Coins is about perfecting that, perhaps doing some sort of learning that enhances or adds value to your path, something that's of interest to you. But this is the card of worker. And I'm getting the sense that June is very much about being pragmatic regarding our work. Right. And I'll just say this, that the Four of Coins is the card of stability in the middle, is very much something that I know it's on a lot of people's minds. Most people aren't interested in dramas. Once you go through certain life trials and challenges and you mature as a person, dramas and news headlines, the atrocities of war and all those sort of things, like you realize what really matters and how important it is to have a solid foundation. Many people aren't comfortable with being, like nomadic, and like for some that is the case. Some people do thrive as nomads, but in my experience, and perhaps maybe this is just the people that I associate with, but I don't think so. I think for a lot of people, especially if you have family or if you want to belong to a community, whether your family is a biological family or whether your family is one that you've chosen with regards to your community, having a place to call home, having some stability, having, that place that offers sanctuary and peace from which you can go out into the world is so important. And unnecessary dramas and, all the conflict that's out there is like that is of no appeal to many people, because there's nothing, in my opinion, more worthwhile than being able to apply our craft and our calling and our vocation. And to do that, you need to be in a place of security. You need to be secure. You need to have a foundation set. You can't be scrambling around all the time or dealing with chaos and upheaval and dramas. So I think that the focus for June is very much laying that solid foundation, having, putting effort towards and achieving some sort of stability, and keep going with your work. Keep focusing on your vocational path. And for some of you, you might say, well, I'm retired. But the thing is that I think that society as a whole, or new generations at least, are viewing retirement in a completely different way. Because if you truly enjoy what you're doing, it's not really work. I mean, of course, there's an element of, effort and putting in work, but people that found their calling, you see them working right until it's their time to go from this earth. And they find ways of doing that. And it's not work in the old sense of the word, like, 40 hours or 60 hours, but they're still engaged meaningfully in what they love doing. So don't think that when I say work, I'm thinking about your standard idea of 40 hours a week, because that's not what I'm referring to. I'm more thinking about a vocational path, a calling, so to speak. I hope that makes sense. All right, so that's the incoming energy. And then we're looking at what we got to keep focusing on. And that's the King of Cups. So what came through when I drew the King of Cups is that the incoming energy is very much pragmatic, but the focus is on us retaining that sensitivity and empathy that is so important as human beings, to have that for our fellow person, our fellow friends and people in the community, even when they have a completely different viewpoint from us. To not lose what makes us human, I think, right? That's the King of Cups to me. Because the King of Cups are all about feelings and emotions, right? We all know that. The King of Cups is also about emotional maturity, right? You don't get to be king by being immature and throwing tantrums. Well, I mean, okay, there's plenty of leaders that have those qualities, but are they qualities we admire? No. And in the good old days, they were at some stage dispatched, rather in an unsavory manner. Because the people that at least I look up to are people that are in control of their emotions, emotionally mature. They've learned to regulate their emotions. I mean, that's something that I look up to, because that was never displayed in my family, and that's something that I'm still working on and have been. And I think that's a really important quality that a leader needs to embody. So, and also before we look to others as leaders, we need to look within ourselves, right? And therefore work on those attributes for ourselves. So I think that's the focus card. The focus card is really saying, focus on your own personal attributes that bring about emotional maturity, sensitivity, and empathy. That's what the focus card is. Sure, we're going to have to work in June on these aspects of our career and vocation and work, making money. Those are really important in June. But at the same time, we need to focus on who we are as human beings. That's what I'm really getting from this reading here. And so that's the reading for June. I hope that brings some guidance for you. I hope it brings some hope or insights or help that you are seeking for. And as always, thank you so much for being here. If you're still here with me after my absence, I greatly appreciate that. And I'll be back to doing some regular videos about once a week from now on. Thank you.